And the Tripartite Alliance has thrown its weight behind the workers. An urgent meeting of the Tripartite Secretariat was held yesterday, where the Secretariat called for a stop to the implementation of the Section 189 process until there's proper consultation with the SABC workforce in particular and all avenues exhausted. Phakamile Hluni-Majola, Numsa spokesperson, and Cosatu First Deputy President Mike Shingange join me now live. A very good evening to you both, lady and gentlemen. Let me start with you, Mr. Shingange. So on Tuesday here at the SABC, I have to point out that workers were quite unanimous that you had deserted the workers. I'd like to get your response first. All right, Mr. Shingange, I hope you can hear me this evening.
Well, of course, the workers will have the right to feel frustrated at a time when they need the coverage of the police.
Mr. Shingange, I missed quite a lot of what you said. The apologies. We seem to have had a break in our connection to you. My question was, on Tuesday, workers here at the SABC were quite unanimous that you'd deserted the workers. I'd like to get your response to that first.
Yes, I was saying that the workers, when they're facing frustration such as they're facing now, perhaps will be quite justified to feel that they don't have a cover of their organization. However, you will know that our affiliate, the Communication Workers Union, has been at the forefront of fighting the struggle of workers with the SABC for the longest time. Of course, now that this matter has reached the point where it has reached, you will know that the Communication Workers Union has been everywhere else, including in Parliament, including the CCMA, where the SABC walked out of the engagements there. So it is not quite clear, correct. However, we do understand the frustration, and that's why we've thrown our weight behind the Communication Workers Union now. And we're actually tomorrow joining them in pronouncing the strike that is going to take place. And indeed, all of our affiliates are going to be on the side of the Communication Workers Union. So it's not quite true, but we understand the frustration.
All right, I'm hoping you can still hear me, Mr. Shingange. So you're joining the picket line side by side with SABC workers tomorrow. As a workers' federation, you know, workers are looking to you and others to come up with some tangible responses to the retrenchment's bloodbath, not just here at the SABC, but in the country at a time when they're vulnerable due to COVID-19. What are you bringing to the table to save jobs?
That's why, first and foremost, we're condemning the stance of the SABC board at a time when the unemployment is at the rate where it is now, almost at 8%. But at a time when government and the social partners in the network have actually come up with what is called a reconstruction and a recovery plan of the economy. You can't do it as a government, because we consider SABC not only just at the public that is going to lead an attack on workers and send workers on the street. Our view is that the government and everybody else should focus on bringing up our economy rather than sending people back to the street and heading on the unemployment. That's what we are raising. And we also condemn the standard that's taken by the SABC when it is supposed to be a public broadcaster, but everybody else in the country, including government, including ministers, including social partners, including all those who are consumers of the SABC news, are condemning and are calling for an alternative. You will know very well, Crisada, who speak, the negotiations at the SABC have not quite been exhausted in as far as the workers or the represented by the unions were at the verge of providing either alternatives that can actually save jobs. Yeah. As you know, the SABC walked out of the CCMA in these issues were supposed to be ventilated, and now they're forging ahead with the retrenchment. So we're actually saying that it's quite unacceptable as far as we're concerned.
Phakamile, let me come to you. Do you think that unions are doing enough to support, workers in general during this time?
Good evening, Criselda, and good evening to your viewers. I think it is very clear that there is a job loss bloodbath that is happening across sectors. It's not just SABC, SAA, SA Express. I mean, I think I've had many interviews with you where we've talked about the crisis at our state-owned entity. And we are, as Numsa, are not surprised that workers at SABC right now are going through this, given what we've been experiencing at Eskom and at Denel and other state-owned entities. We knew that it was very clear that when you look at government's budgets and its plans for the future, state-owned entities are a target, and particularly the wage bill. And I think what worsened the situation to a certain extent, especially from an organizational perspective of trade unions, was the coronavirus and how that impacted. So I think what we're dealing with here is far more than just the problem of what trade unions should or shouldn't do. When the battle here is where government has made it very clear that workers and their families are going to pay the price through austerity measures that it's implementing, through job cuts across the board. They've frozen the public sector wage bill. They've already said, they've reneged rather on paying out the last year of the public sector wage increases. So already you can see that the agenda is very clear, that workers are going to be paying through job losses for the austerity measures that this government is implementing. And trade unions have got a battle of a lifetime on their hands. But I think the strongest work that needs to be done is that we need solidarity across all trade unions and workers across all affiliations and across all union banners, because the battle is for all of us. We are all fighting the same battle right now. And we really need to see a lot more unity in action. And that's going to certainly help the cause.
Phakamile, pertaining to what is happening here at the SABC, what is your observation? Can the impasse be resolved? Is there political will from the shareholders, stakeholders and the SABC board and management to find a lasting solution to this matter as per your observation?
Well, absolutely. Then if there was political will, SABC wouldn't be in the situation that it's in right now. And I think we have to be very frank and honest about the situation that is confronting workers right now. It's very clear that government is choking state-owned entity. That's very clear. We're saying this because when you look at SABC, first of all, is a public broadcaster. Its mandate, should not be profit making. But the structure that has been proposed for the future of SAA is one where SAA is where SABC rather is drastically reduced, where it's corporatized. And we're seeing this happening not just at SABC, it's happening at all our state-owned entities across the board. They're trying to corporatize SABC. Now, the big mistake with doing that is that SABC has a mandate to deliver a public good to all South Africans, regardless of whether they are rich or they're poor. It has to be a platform that is accessible to all. Once you corporatize it, you are putting profit ahead of that ability to deliver services. If you look at other independent media stations, for example, Griselda, they don't do our indigenous languages. They don't file stories outside of Johannesburg, Western Cape and Durban. And that is exactly the future of SABC if we allow this situation to persist.
Phakamile Hluni-Majola, Numsa spokesperson and Cosatu First Deputy President. Thanks indeed, Mike Shingange, for joining us this evening. I'm afraid that's all we have time for.